Hello, my name's Simon Farley and I'm a librarian here in the Heritage Collections Unit at the State Library of Queensland, and it was my job in this project to select and describe the images that you see on display here today. There'll be a couple of million photographs in the John Oxley Library collection, and they range from the earliest formats of photographs, including daguerreotypes, ambrotypes, cartes de visite, album prints, all of those early formats right through to contemporary digital images. Our senior conservator, Lydia Uganicki, is an expert in photograph conservation, and we work closely with Lydia and the staff in preservation services to ensure that the photos in our collection are kept stable or treated where required. We see Lydia here working on some of the panoramas displayed in this exhibition. The arresting property of these photographs, and by that I don't mean just the historical photographs that you see here today, but of any photograph, is that the photograph traps a moment in time, and it's that unreal sense of seeing a moment in time that appeared to the photographer and being able to see a whole scene, a streetscape, a landscape, as it appeared to the photographer in that moment. And nothing captures those streetscapes or cityscapes or catastrophes or landscapes quite like a panoramic photo does, because the panorama captures that whole field of vision. There are a lot of images of Brisbane in the exhibition, and they are photos taken at various points, various decades in the 19th and 20th centuries, and they show a Brisbane that in a way is strangely unfamiliar to the Brisbane that we see today. The earliest panorama in the exhibition was taken in 1862. This photograph was taken from the Tower Mill in Wickham Terrace, which is one of the few surviving convict-built structures left in Brisbane today, from the days of the Moreton Bay Penal Colony in the 1820s. This 1862 panorama is an assemblage of segmented album prints that capture a young Brisbane just 3 years after Queensland had separated from New South Wales, and not 20 years since Brisbane town had been opened to free settlement in 1842. We see some of the early buildings of the time, such as the Normal School, which meant it was a non-denominational school, established as the National School in 1860. This school was built by Andrew Petrie and was eventually demolished in 1927. We see here the Convict Barracks, completed in 1829. This was the largest building in the early settlement, and it was at the intersection of where Queen and Albert Streets are now. The barracks were demolished in 1880. Here's Brisbane's early water supply, the Roma Street Reservoir, which remained the main source of water supply until the 1860s. It was described in the Brisbane Courier on the 2nd of March 1859 as that hole in which there exists a combination of animal and vegetable matter, and which, with the stewing from sunshine, the visits from quadrupeds, and the dragging from the buckets of water carriers, threatens to become the hole of death to those who, in this hot country, are compelled to drink the filthy compound. Spanning the river by the 1870s, we have the first permanent Victoria Bridge, which was completed and then opened by Governor Phipps, the Marquess of Normanby, in 1874. We see it here in this beautiful panorama by an unknown photographer from the South Bank side of the river, with its clearly viewable turning mechanism and the pylons reflected in the still water of the Brisbane River. This bridge would stand for almost 20 years before being smashed to smithereens in the Great Flood of 1893. Looking at the bridge standing so strong and serene in this tranquil photograph, it's difficult to imagine its final destruction in the 1893 flood. One of the panoramas records a social and religious story of epic dimensions. The laying of the foundation stone for the Holy Name Cathedral in 1928. Now, this was a very significant event in Queensland at a time of marked sectarian divisions in Australian society. The Holy Name Cathedral was the grand vision of Archbishop Duig. The scene we see here shows All Hallows School in the background, designed by the Italian architect Andrea Stambucco for the Catholic Church, for the Sisters of Mercy. And in the foreground, we see the huge crowd that attended the event on the day. All of Australia's high-ranking Catholics were there. The papal legate laid soil from the catacombs of Rome under the foundation stone. Likewise, Archbishop Duig laid soil from the 4 provinces of Ireland under the stone. This cathedral was going to be the largest in the southern hemisphere, but then the Wall Street crash occurs, and that stopped the dream from becoming a reality. And what happened to the money? Smuggled to Rome, according to the Protestants. The stories surrounding this cathedral continue to this day. It was perhaps the grandest venture never achieved in our state's history. And somehow I think it might have looked a little bit more impressive than the Cathedral Place apartments that stand there today. This photograph actually had a section of the crowd missing and required a lot of conservation treatment from Lydia, and we see Lydia here working on the photograph. One of my favourite photos in this exhibition is this beautiful street scene taken around 1928 in Queen Street in Ayr in North Queensland. This is coincidentally the same year as the laying of the foundation stone for the Holy Name Cathedral. This photograph is a great example of the distortion effect you get in panoramas as the distance from the lens increases. I love the detail in this image. The boys standing between the petrol bowsers would be about the same age as my grandfathers. I wonder if they're still alive today. What a story. I suppose they and all of the people and places in these panoramas do, in a sense, live forever in the still life of the photograph. Roland Barthes, in his book Camera Lucida, says about photographs that they create this kind of an erasing or a smashing of time, temps écrasé, and I suppose that sense of looking into these lost moments in time, this time suspended, is what really attracts me to looking further into these images. So I really hope that you enjoy looking at these photographs as much as I have done, and I think they're a wonderful window into Queensland's history.